Fellow YouTubers, I've got you here today to talk to you about what I think is probably camera. Stop moving, camera. Stay still. You can tell how unprofessional I am, but regardless, I'm here to talk to you about possibly one of the worst RPGs ever made. No, I'm not talking about Two Worlds. I'm talking about Two Worlds 2. Now, I admit I haven't got very far in this game, and if there's anyone who can understand that games tend to get better later on, it's me. I didn't like the opening to Fable 1, I didn't like the opening to Final Fantasy 13, but both of those games I stuck through, and both of them I quite liked. But I physically can't push myself to play this anymore. It's just so bad. I don't see a reason why I can't just stop playing and go play a good game, like Fallout. That is, any Fallout game, even number 1. Which was a revolutionary game for its time, and is still amazing at modern day standards, but that's not what we're here today to talk about. So why is this bad? Well, I think I'll start at the beginning, what I first noticed, and that is that the voice acting all seems very poor. Now, I don't really take this very far in a game, but here it's just kind of terrible. It's like there's no emotion at all in it, apart from one orc character who I presume won't be in it very much longer. Who almost dies, by the way. It's not a spoiler, it happens before there is spoilers. Anyway, immediately on escaping imprisonment, you'll find that you'll soon be in a room in which you need to leave, and there's a Turlock in the way. A Turlock is a creature that I haven't seen since and really don't want to see again. To do this, to get rid of him, you need to make a spell. The thing is that when I played it the first time, a bug, which this game has way too many and is what I'm complaining about with this, stopped me from being able to see the tutorial options. I spent 20 minutes to half an hour trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to be doing. Second playthrough, it told me, and I found the magic system was greatly overhyped. It seems to me like the cards, are more for editing already their spells and making new ones. Again, I could be wrong, and don't comment if I am wrong, because I couldn't push through the game. The world seems pretty lifeless, all the NPCs seem boring, and kind of as if they are game characters. They don't really try to make them feel real. If I went to a game like Oblivion or Skyrim, or Fallout, or Fable, or other good RPGs, and I went around and talked to NPCs, I might at least find one or two I believe in, who could be real people or have emotion. Okay, maybe not in Fable 1, but that's not the point. I'm pretty much in love with RPGs, but I also love strategy games of all types, which is why I love Paradox Studios, by the way. So when I played multiplayer, which, by the way, by the point you're seeing this is useless if you're new, because the other ones will get killed in most modes, I found two good modes. One is an RTS kind of mode called Village. So Village has a problem where I didn't really enjoy it. Right? I didn't enjoy it because you have to go around not only fighting to solve the village problems, which means it's a mixture between RTS and role-playing, which I would love if it had ever been done well. Ever, though it might be done well in Omerta, City of Gangsters, which also combines Mafia, but I'm getting sidetracked like I have many times. Don't know if that'll do it well. And partly because you have to go around placing the buildings, it would be nice to have a top-down view where you can place buildings on the map in any location rather than having to build them in specific spots. There also didn't seem to be, and the game's bugged, which is another thing that I've complained about. There were many bugs, by the way. The horse gets stuck. It froze on me about once or twice. And this is on the Xbox version, which I can't blame my computer for because, of course, most Xboxes are equal. And this one is not that old. It is old, but it's not that old. And it's quite good. But that's not the point. The point is, of course, like I keep saying, the game is bad. So I didn't really enjoy Village, but I like the fact that they put it there, and I'm not necessarily marking this down on the score I'll give it at the end. Adventure is actually a decent online mode as well, and can be played with only one person. You'll find at the start that you can trade in items, and it works just like the game, except as if it was an action RPG, which I might enjoy more. simply because of the fact that a lot of the problems wouldn't be there if it was an action RPG, even though it wouldn't be a quote-unquote proper RPG. Fair enough, Fable 1 was a quote-unquote action RPG, and I liked it, and I liked the proper RPGs that came from it. Okay. The problem with the adventure mode is that in order to do well, if you're gonna be on your own, that is, you have to spend about an hour to 2 hours killing everything in the first level of it over and over again, which was fine because I was there doing that anyway in order to get 10,000 to start the village mode. You'll see the horse bugged. I hope he comes out of it, otherwise it might be staring at him for about an hour. Well, this won't last an hour, don't worry, I'm not going to moan about this game for an hour. Now, none of this really explains why I couldn't keep playing, but two things definitely stopped me. One is the really, really poor combat. Now, it tries to do the Kingdoms of Amalur Fable style thing, where it gives you 3 things, all of which you start off good with, and you can improve that over time depending on what you want. Magic, which requires staffs, which I've never been done good with gaming and won't be done here, and in which the early spells seem far too overpowered because you can't get hit and the enemies do too much damage to you at the start anyway if you're far away when you cast. The bows, which seem vastly, God, this is my English accent coming through in here, vastly, ugh. Anyway, which seem vastly underpowered because they don't do enough damage to warrant not being able to defend yourself when they get close. Unless, of course, you switch to a sword or magic. But whatever. And the swords, which mean getting too close and dying and having to face the terrible, I'm not done by the way, terrible autosave system, which saved 7 times during the tutorial, but not after I did several quests and then died. That seems like something I could code better myself, and I don't even know how to code. Another thing about the terrible coding is the horse. They went for the realistic approach, which never works because they always overstate it. I've never seen a horse that, when told to go forward, automatically turns 80 degrees, flies into the air and ends up in a nearby wall. I'm joking, of course, it's not that bad. The point is that the horse never does what you want it to do, and I'm pretty sure trained domesticated horses kind of do that to a certain extent. I get that a horse can't just do acrobatics and turn around, but they really have overestimated the restrictions of horse transportation. This would be fine if it weren't for the fact that I seem to not be able to continue the main story until I win a horse race, with an obnoxious time that I've tried about 30 times, completed it once, and then the autosave feature had me dead on the next enemy along. Honestly, I don't know if there's a way to continue the main story without it, but in all my searching I have not found a single side quest, main quest, or interesting town, really anything else to do apart from doing this race. I admit I've only spent an hour or so running around here, but I just don't see a reason to keep going if it's that frustrating. On the set path that you have to go with the horse, there's about 6 bugs that will happen most times. Once I almost finished it for the horse to just stop moving and be frozen and the entire game to freeze while the counter was still going down for 20 seconds. Other times the horse would embed itself in the floor, and by the way, it embed itself in the floor at the exact same point every single time. You know, I've done 2 lessons of coding at school and an ICT, and it's extremely basic coding. It's on a website, it's in a language that's basically just 4 or 5 keywords repeated and done in different ways to display messages and things. If you remove 90% of that knowledge and replaced it with falsehoods and wrong keywords and things, and asked me to code the horse in a completely different language while drunk in 10 minutes, I could code it much better, even if I was trying to code it wrongly. And again, I don't know how to code, and I could do this better. It seems like the developers were so desperate to make a bit of money and a quick buck that they sacrificed actual core gameplay. Every time I go into the combat, I either die or do it way too easily, so the balancing issues are very, very, very extreme. I don't know how anyone could give this a positive review, and I feel kind of bad for saying it's so bad, considering that this is, of course, 2 Woods 2, a game that's said to redeem 2 Woods 1, which I thought was okay. Seems like it take a huge step back and just made everything bad. I've heard of good things later on in this game, I really have, but I just can't get there. It seems every time I try to invest myself in the game, it just gives me a million reasons to hate it. So I've been talking for almost 11 minutes now, and honestly, I'm not attached to any of the characters. The quests are all boring and dull. It's basically do a quest for a guy which consists of just doing whatever they ask you to do. Menial work. The start was kind of good, but as soon as it gives you freedom, it just yanks it away and gives you the illusion of freedom, a bit like Zelda does, and I don't like Zelda. But I'd rather play any Zelda game at all than this. I just don't know how RPGs can take so many steps back when games quite clearly older than me, like Fallout 1, or freaking Wastelander, or Wasteland, or whatever it was called, can be so much better. And after I'm done with this, I'll probably go and play them. I may give this another shot, or I may trade it in tomorrow. All I know is that it's really done a lot to get me to hate it. I may have left some out, but the graphics are pretty overdone, and there's a slight pop-in issue, I suppose. The graphics seem old, as if you found them in some Oblivion game a year older than this, or 2 years older than this. The enemies all seem to be taken from the same stock, and there's nothing really original or new that I've seen. Everything like the blacksmithing and the potions and even the magic system would be done better by other games. So there's nothing good about it, apart from maybe 2 decent multiplayer modes, which I kind of like, especially the adventure one, which has a better story than the game itself, I may add. There's no reason for me to enjoy it. I don't know why, but I can't help but give this something better than 0 out of 10 for my first real game score, apart from that pretty bad Skyrim video I did a while back. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10. It's a glimmer of hope behind absolute crappiness. So that's really all I have to say on it. I'm sorry for being a bit biased by going into this game thinking it was going to be amazing, because that coloured my ideas of it and made me realise every little fault a bit too much. Again, I don't know if I'll keep playing this, and I will keep you updated if it turns out good, but I recommend everyone to give this a miss. Maybe number 3 could be decent, but after 2 pretty bad games, I don't think they're going to come out with it number 3. So, if you disagree with me, feel free to litter the comments with it, or give me advice on how to do better internet videos. This is Rhysdeath 1, as I'll be calling myself, signing out after 13 minutes 25 seconds.